Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are speaking with Mary Alice Hostetter. I loved your interview with Laura. Um, so much of your story. There's Charlottesville, West Virginia, Southern Pennsylvania. It's like where I grew up. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. I live in Charlottesville.
Right.
The mountains were my playground. So it's always nice to hear about that part of the country again. So you're currently in Charlottesville. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And you are a Mennonite still, right?
No, I am a lapsed Mennonite.
Okay, lapsed Mennonite. Okay, that's fair.
Isn't Lap a really common Amish name?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and Amish, just for clarity, people, the Amish and the Mennonite traveled much of the same journey, and then there was a split. You said sometime around the 17th century, where the Mennonites were seen as too progressive for the Amish folks, which I think is an interesting, sort of idea, because they both seem very stuck in their ways, as you will. But here we're on this interview. I see Mary on a computer in a house with electricity,
Yes.
enjoying a lifestyle that seems very modern and very happy.
Yeah.
And real quick, so you came to terms with the idea that you were gay in your 20s?
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about growing up, being gay as a Mennonite. I have a friend who grew up, I lived in Utah for a while. So I lived amongst the LDS community. And there was the world's perceived ideas of the church and the community. And then there was the living ideas that we all, walked in and out of throughout our day-to-day life. And what is the stance for the Mennonites on the LGBT community, and how have they progressed, say, in your lifetime?
I'm a little confused.
LGBTQ community,
where they stand now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where did they stand when you were growing up, and how have they progressed to this point now?
Gotcha.
That maybe has helped you come along with your journey, or others who are in your footsteps.
Well, the church, when I was growing up, it was something not even mentionable.
Mm-hmm.
There were the ministers would certainly not do a sermon on the sins of being gay. It just was not mentioned.
It was not even mentionable at that point, right?
Yeah,
okay.
It was beyond that. And I guess it was around the 80s or 90s that it was like the powers that be in the Mennonite church. It's almost like they discovered a new sin, as if it was a planet that had been out of the reach, and then
there were enough people displaying the conditions.
Yeah, I don't
symptoms.
know. Yeah, I'm not sure what caused the shift, but it was at that point that the church really, really started, calling it out and having special meetings about it. And that evolved into the whole church splitting on the issue of gay and lesbian.
And that was in the 90s? So you say early
or
late 80s?
No, that's when the rumblings started, I think, early. And the whole impulse for the church to divide was probably 2010 or so, I think. So that's fairly recent, that the church divided, and the more conservative group, which my parents would have probably been a part of, said no gay clergy, no gay marriage, no gay members if we know that they're gay. The more progressive church, Mennonite Church USA, they were much, much more accepting. And so as recently as last spring, they had a big meeting in Kansas or somewhere where they decided there could be gay clergy, there could be gay marriage sponsored by the church. So the divide has really gotten wider and wider in more recent years.
Sure.
And so it's sort of all over the place.
Yeah, and you were observing this as a member of the community.
Well, that all happened. No, it all happened after I left, but a few of my family members are still involved with the church, so I was always very aware of it.
Mm.
The main splits happened after my parents had passed away, so
Okay.
they didn't have to make the tough decision, about which way they would have
church
gone.
or
Which,
child.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it would have been an interesting.
Well, I guess my personal question is looking back on the fact that you were, sort of mortified into the idea that you couldn't sort of even own that truth with yourself. Was there a sense of deniability that like you talked a lot about not even recognizing or having attraction to boys of the opposite sex, or you hadn't found the man with the right match, if you will. But looking back now, from the perspective that you have, was there talk amongst your friends? Like, did you guys go, oh, I think that person might be, or
No, not even. I don't remember in high school anybody even bringing it up as an issue. I mean, maybe more for guys. There was
right.
one guy who I think people
Couldn't
may have
hide it.
called him a little bit of a sissy or some
Right.
really terrible thing like that. But I don't think it was, girls just didn't count for that much. So
Hey,
it wouldn't be.
girls are smarter and better at hiding things than boys. I'm telling you, my 54 years has shown me.
That is the
Yeah,
truth.
whatever it was, it wasn't as huge a thing. But yeah.
Are you happy with where we are today as far as the Mennonites and how we look at
Oh,
the
I think they're
LGBT?
they're going in such the right direction. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
And the other thing you talked about that I thought was really cool is that when you did decide to come out, that your family was really supportive, and your father even had said something that cleared the air to the fact that this shouldn't be something that disrupts our family. And you have a big family; you have at least 12 siblings, and your parents, and that doesn't account for cousins and granddaughters. And
oh
so
yeah,
on and
who
so
knows
forth.
how many there are? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have, and then you talked a little bit about your brother's journey as well, which I really admire. And are there a lot of practicing Mennonites in your family still? Is there a divide where you guys sit, or is everybody
Not very
come together?
many, but it's the few who are. It's not. It's hardly. I mean, I don't even know if I could do the list anymore of who is and who isn't, because they're all part of sort of one cloth, that it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, I am so happy that you came on the show and talked about your book, Plain, which is a memoir of a Mennonite childhood. I was looking through your other titles of your published works, and they sound super fascinating. Can I read a couple of the titles?
Sure.
Yeah. Dad, We've Been Gay Forever, which you have a podcast interview, I suppose. And you also are in the Modern Love New York Times for that.
Right.
That sounds super interesting to me. There was another one in here. Had decided whether to recommend my rapist be paroled during the pandemic. Like, I was stunned by that one. That's a Huffington Post piece, or a HuffPost piece. Reclaiming Good Bones, I'm very curious about. We are so fortunate to have you on the show and share your story. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you guys check out the episode with her and Laura. It's a fascinating story. And check out her website. It's MaryAliceHostetter.com. And thank you again, Mary Alice.
Thank you.